Hey everybody, just Mr. Karam here, coming at you with day 2 or installment number 2 of our Elements of Music exploration. And yes, so really excited to dive into this one. This one should take a little less time because it's just as important of a concept, but it's not broken down into 3 smaller sections. It can be broken down really far, and as we dive more into music, of course, we'll learn more about these sub concepts. But for now, I want to give you the base. So last time we did pitch, and I'm just kind of fast forwarding through the pitch stuff. Sorry about that. There was that. Moving on. So sorry, fast forwarding through the rhythm stuff. That's what we did last time. And rhythm had 3 subcategories: tempo, meter, and note duration. And this time we are moving into pitch. So now we start talking about notes. And when I talk about a musical note, a musical note is defined as, in this class, a musical symbol of both rhythm and pitch. So now we can start combining these 2 concepts to make up notes. Okay. So pitch, as you can see right there, is the perception of frequency. Right? Perception of frequency. So that's kind of a sciencey term, right? And we know frequency is how frequent sound waves occur. And the faster they occur, the more frequent they occur, the higher the pitch, right? So pitch is essentially high versus low. Is a note high? Is it super high? Is it low? Is it super low? Is it somewhere in the middle? So it's a perception of frequency. So a pitch like that's kind of a high note. Ooh, ooh, that's kind of a low note. Sorry, I don't have those sweet bass pipes like some of our guys do. But so anyway, so perception of frequency, and they're measured in high versus low. Now, as far as pitch is concerned, one thing that we all need to understand is that in westernized music, so the music you listen to and the music that has been occurring in this part of the world, mainly Europe and the United States, is based off of a half step or semitonal system. Okay. So pretty much what that means for you is that the closest 2 notes can be is what's called a half step, and we'll get into those later. But high versus low. So now that's one pitch. Now when we start thinking about multiple pitches, now we can start getting into intervals. And an interval, just like in anything else, is the distance between 2 things. So when I have an interval, I go walk from here to the choir room door. That is an interval of probably, 30 feet, right? And in music, it's the same kind of concept. When you've got a really high note versus a really low note, that's a big interval. But I can close that gap. That is a very small interval. Okay, and then all the intervals have names too. So we'll get into those later. That is for another day. But interval is the distance between 2 pitches, and they all have names. Every interval has a name, first name and a last name. So now when we talk pitch, the 2 subcategories are melody and harmony, right? So when we're talking melody, we'll get into that in a second. So here's the close-up on those terms: perception of frequency, high versus low, intervals, melody, and harmony. And we're going to get into melody and harmony in more detail in just a second. So here's how we measure pitch. We measure pitch on the staff. And sometimes we measure pitch pitch in the bass clef staff, and sometimes we measure in the treble clef staff. And when we put the 2 together, it's called the grand staff, right? And we all know how to go through that and write out the grand staff and all of these things. But of course, our high notes, you can see visually, are on the treble clef, and the low notes are in the bass clef. And then you can just measure any of the pitches at all, any single pitch there. So really important understanding of the grand staff. I will also say, tying it into rhythm, rhythm had a single line. When we read it on Sight Reading Factory, or earlier in the presentation, it was a single line. Now we have 5 lines per staff, 10 in the grand staff, plus the invisible line in between, really 11. So that's how we measure pitch, is up and down. So rhythm is measured horizontally, pitch is measured vertically, and the combination of the two creates notes and creates music, creates musical lines. So that's where we are. Okay, so let's look at melody. Let's put myself over here so you can see. Okay, a melody is a single musical line found often in one instrument at a time or one voice at a time. Sometimes the melody can be shared at any given moment, and sometimes the melody can be passed from one section to another. Let's say sopranos. Sopranos get the melody a lot, but then they might pass it to the tenors. And then at that time, the tenors have it, and maybe the sopranos are doing some harmony stuff. So it really just depends, but it is often like the most recognizable line or most recognizable element in a song. If you hear a solo singer, they are singing melody. I mean, just about every instance I can think of, when it's a solo singer, they just have the melody, right? And you can often find the melody in piano parts, maybe playing along with it, but a solo singer is singing a melody. When we get into a choral situation, a lot of times one section has the melody and other sections don't. But another point, not all choral songs have a melody. And I know that sounds crazy, but I can point some out to you, some instances, especially in earlier music, where all vocal parts are written equally. They all contribute equally to the music, as opposed to one has the melody and the other 3 are supporting. Not all choral songs have melody per se. Okay. Now, melody is found in when I say types here, I mean like all over the world. It's found in all genres of music. Okay. It is found in early music, Baroque music, let's say, but it is not in every single piece. So I was saying earlier that it's not in all choral pieces. It's not, but it often is. And it is found in every genre. It's found all over the world. Another name for melody a lot of people use is the tune. I like that tune. They're talking about the single melodic line in a song or a piece of music. Instrumental music, they perform songs with melodies all the time too. So let's go ahead and dive now into an example of melody. I don't have pitch source. I'm just going to take this note. So this is an example. This is a visual example of a melody. Now that we've talked about rhythm last class, now we're talking about pitch. This is the combination of the two. This example shows pitch and rhythm. Pitch and rhythm together to create melody. 'Tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the gift to be free, 'tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, it will be in the valley of love and delight. Example right there. That is a melodic line. That you can see this is a shaker melody. It even has the word melody. This is a piece called Simple Gifts, and we're going to look at that in just a second. So let's dive into the next thing. Adding on to that is harmony. All right, so harmony adds texture, which is something we'll get into later. Harmony adds density to a piece by adding notes on top. So harmony is when multiple pitches are being played simultaneously. So they have to be being played at the same time. So if I said do, do, that would be just 2 notes. But if I had someone else here singing the second pitch and I was singing the first, I can't do that. As a solo singer, I can't do that. I can't create that harmony. There is a way to do it. But it's not. It's very difficult to do, to create a harmony within yourself. But I would need someone else to create harmony with me. So like I was saying, it adds depth and adds density to the music. So intervals and chords. So an interval, like I was saying, is a comparison of two notes. It is the distance between two different pitches. And you can hear intervals arpeggiated, which means not simultaneously at different times, or you can hear them arpeggiated. So you'd hear them at the same exact time. If I had the piano closer to me, I would have, here, you know what? I'm going to play you something. So let me give you an example. Super quick. Okay, here is an interval played arpeggiated. Sorry. Awesome. Two pitches, different times. Here is non-arpeggiated. That's the same two pitches, just played at the same time. Now, a chord is when we take 3 or more pitches and we play them at the same time. So it's an interval is 2 pitches, a chord is 3 or more. So here we go. Here is a chord. Now let's play it in this hand. That is a non-arpeggiated chord, a simultaneous chord. If I broke it apart, I play them arpeggiated or at different times, but then I can play them together, right? And that's a chord because it's 3 notes. Then we can start adding chords after it to create a progression. So that creates a progression, okay? Which I don't have on here, and that's maybe a little, you know, that's more of an advanced level. We're talking about chords and chord progressions, which is amazing. But an interval is what you need to know for this. An interval is 2 notes. A chord is 3 or more. Okay. So when I was talking earlier about intervals have a name, chords also have a name, and they can go by major, minor, augmented, and diminished. And those are called chord qualities. We won't dive into those right now, but those are called chord qualities, and they apply to both intervals and chords. Okay. Major, minor, augmented, and diminished. And I could go into like the, you know, how they are broken down and stuff and just nerd out over that. But that's the baseline of what you need to know. Major, minor, augmented, and diminished. Most of what we hear is either major or minor. Okay. So here is an example. Here's an example of pitch, a great example of pitch. And in fact, it's the same video I just showed you, or it's the same song I just sang you a minute ago in Simple Gifts, but it has it adds some harmony to it. So you're going to hear that melody again, and you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it at the very beginning with just a couple notes underneath it as support. But you're going to hear the melody essentially by itself, and then you're going to hear the other guys come in and sing the same rhythm and the same words at the same time, but on different pitches than the melody. So it's going to create harmony. And there's a lot of really cool chords in here, really kind of not super complex, but some really kind of jazzy stuff going on too. So this is that Shaker Melody. It's a folk song, Simple Gifts, one of the kind of classics in the folk song world. And so this is Cantus. They are a men's vocal ensemble from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Twin Cities. And I've seen them live a few times. They are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So here is Simple Gifts by Cantus.
Tis the gift to be simple, tis the gift to be free, tis the gift to come down where you ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just
Keep listening.
right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. To simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight. Till by turning, we come round right. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning, we come round. Till by turning, we come round. 'Tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the gift to be free, 'tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we'll be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning, we come round right. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round.
Minnesota Original.
So that is a really good example of melody and harmony, and of course rhythm as well in there. So this was awesome. I appreciate you guys coming out. There is a post-class question also posted, or a discussion board, or just go ahead and in the Google thread there underneath this very post, just go ahead and start that discussion, and we'll get it going, guys. So looking forward to continuing exploring music with you and developing these skills. And next couple classes will be structure, how music is structured, and how and instrumentation, and those couple subcategories as well. So that's what I've got for now. Wish you all the best. See you later.